Even now, decades after his screen presence first caught the eye, what has drawn attention is not just the memory of his films, but the remarkable poise he maintains at 88. Behind closed doors, Alain Delon closely guarded the subtle habits and routines shaping his vitality. Rarely seen indulging at industry parties, he committed to an unchanging routine: early mornings, brisk walks, and a special fondness for quiet moments in the garden. Friends mention his love for long, slow conversations and his deliberate avoidance of stress. When asked what kept him so sharp, he often smiled and described the power of listening, claiming that stillness brings clarity even in a noisy world. As others sought dramatic secrets to lasting youth, he trusted simplicity: a favorite homemade herbal tea, a strict devotion to sleep, handwritten letters to family, and treasured old photographs left undisturbed in a desk drawer. Over time, these private rituals became a quiet shield against the hurried chaos outside. Instead of expensive products or constant attention, he devoted himself to what cannot be bought: peace, privacy, and the confidence to age on his own terms. Despite never planning on stepping into the limelight, Delon's charm radiated from the screen, capturing attention across Europe and beyond. Audiences found in him a symbol of French romanticism, the kind that effortlessly blends elegance with intrigue. His rise saw him move from anonymity to become the very picture of cinematic allure, a cultural figure whose striking looks and enigmatic presence reflected not only the changing face of French filmmaking, but also the ideals of an entire generation. International directors took notice, drawing him into significant roles that deepened his presence well past the boundaries of France. As his fame grew, so did the fascination and mystique around him, further cementing his place as a living legend whose influence shaped how France was seen worldwide, both on and off the screen. Even though his early days hinted at anything but stardom, his image became entwined with dreams of Parisian romance, shimmering through decades of classic cinema. Now, after years in the public eye, Delon has chosen to retreat from the spotlight, living a secluded existence at his property outside Paris. At 89 years old, he seeks peace and quiet away from the fame he once embodied, taking time to reflect on a luminous era in film that still resonates. His days now echo with memories of a career whose impact lingers in the minds of movie lovers around the world, and his decision to embrace privacy adds yet another layer to his unique legacy. Yet beneath the surface of Alain Delon's celebrated life, there is a chapter not spoken of as often. In the late 1960s, Delon shared a brief relationship with Nico, a German singer best known for her work with the Velvet Underground. From their short time together was born a son, Christian Aaron Boulogne. His existence, however, rarely enters the stories told about the actor. While Delon has other children who are part of his official family history, Christian Aaron remains a quieter presence. Nico raised the boy during some difficult years, at times relying on friends and her musical circle for help. Over time, Christian Aaron became part of his grandmother's care, and Delon did not acknowledge him in the same way as his other children. The topic stands as one of those private threads that run alongside public fame. It lives more in the shadows of gossip columns and biographical stories than at the forefront of Delon's own recollections. The son grew up away from his father, his connection appearing as a footnote in stories about both Delon and Nico. Despite the fame around him, his presence did not filter into the limelight in the same way as his father's many film roles. The distance between Delon and Christian Aaron became another example of how the personal lives of artists can remain just out of reach, shaped as much by silence as by public declarations. Despite his prominent position in the world of cinema, Alain Delon's personal life has always drawn strong attention. He was known for his charm and complex relationships. Among his children, Christian, born in 1962, stands apart as a son Delon never acknowledged. Christian's mother, Nico, was left to raise him alone, managing both financial instability and emotional strain. While Delon had 3 other children with different partners, Christian didn't receive the same public recognition or support. As a single mother, Nico was forced to confront the challenges of providing for her son without assistance from Delon. This absence affected both her and Christian's well-being, as Nico's career faced obstacles, limiting opportunities to secure their future. Over the years, the lack of acknowledgement from Delon remained a source of difficulty for Christian, shaping much of his early life. The public frequently speculated about the situation, but neither Delon nor Nico's circumstances changed, and Christian continued to be raised outside the sphere of his famous father's influence. Despite the glittering world of film and fame, There were shadows woven into the tapestry of Alain Delon's personal life, especially surrounding the relationship with his son, Christian. As tensions grew within the family, Christian found his childhood shaped not only by the choices of his parents, but also by the intervention of his grandmother, Edith. Eventually, it was Edith who adopted Christian, making a decision rooted in the desire to safeguard her grandson's position and future within the family. This act, however, came at a cost that led to a deep fracture in Delon's relationship with his own mother, a tension that lingered for 17 years and shaped the emotional landscape of the family. Meanwhile, Christian's early years were spent with only occasional contact with his mother, Nico, and very little communication with Delon himself. Those rare encounters between Christian and Delon were often complicated and standing at the center of a powerful denial. During a pivotal meeting, later recounted by Christian in his 2001 memoir, Delon refused to acknowledge Christian as his son, a moment that left a lasting mark on Christian's identity and sense of belonging. This denial reverberated throughout Christian's youth, casting a long shadow over the already fragile connections between the scattered members of the family. As Christian grew up, the lack of consistent parental support and recognition shaped his understanding of family, leaving him to reconcile the complicated legacies of his birth and upbringing. Despite being born into a world shaped by fame and expectation, Christian grew up facing hardships similar to those of his mother, who battled addiction throughout her life. This challenging environment marked his teenage years with uncertainty and pain, setting him on a turbulent path like the one his mother walked. Yet, unlike many who become trapped by their circumstances, Christian set out to change his life's direction. He confronted the demons of addiction that haunted his family and strove for sobriety, gradually building a life that offered more stability than what he had known as a child. In choosing to become a father, Christian made a conscious effort to rewrite his own narrative, distancing himself from a past filled with struggle and disappointment. His persistence showed a will to survive amid all that could have drowned him. Through these hard-won changes, Christian's story reveals both the crushing weight of inherited difficulties and the hope that comes with refusing to be defined by them. Even as he achieved some healing and created a safer space for his own children, the figure of his famous father, Delon, remained remote, almost a shadow at the edge of his story. This distance left a void in Christian's life, highlighting a legacy quietly built on survival, rather than shared memories or public acknowledgement. While Delon's legacy in film persists on screen, the story of his son stands apart, marked by endurance against odds and an ongoing journey for acceptance and peace. Before Alain Delon became famous, his younger years were far from glamorous. From the beginning, he struggled with authority, often clashing with teachers and rules. These constant conflicts led to him being expelled from not just one school, but several, each time returning home with stories of mischief and rebellion. After leaving formal education behind, Delon did not pursue further studies. Instead, he worked at his stepfather's butcher shop, a job that kept him busy, but offered little excitement or challenge for someone of his restless nature. Driven by a desire for escape or new adventure, at just 17, he enlisted in the French Navy. His timing meant he found himself swept into the turmoil of the Indochina War. However, Delon's rebellious streak did not fade in the military. In fact, it only seemed to intensify. He repeatedly found himself in trouble, unable to conform to military discipline. The Navy responded with strict consequences, and Delon spent several periods in military jail. Despite, or perhaps because of, these episodes, he would later speak about these years with a certain sense of humor, recalling how his head was shaved a total of 5 times during his service. With every new stint in jail, the ritual would start again, a steady reminder of his inability to fit into rigid systems, even under the threat of war. Each experience left a mark, shaping the attitude and outlook he later brought to his life and career. After returning to Paris following his time in the military, Alain Delon found himself in a challenging position. He arrived with almost nothing, facing the harsh realities of city life and struggling just to survive. Money was scarce, work was difficult to come by, and Delon's days were filled with a series of odd jobs that barely paid for his basic needs. His existence at this time could not have been further from the life of fame and luxury he would later experience. Even so, Delon continued moving forward, surviving from one small job to the next without knowing what the future held for him. Then, by a twist of fate, he traveled to the Cannes Film Festival in 1957. It was during this serendipitous visit that his fortunes began to change. In Cannes, Delon's striking looks caught the attention of director Yves Allégret, who saw something unique and remarkable in the young man. Sensing his potential, Aligre extended an opportunity to Delon, opening the door to the world of acting. This single chance encounter became the turning point in Delon's life, taking him from struggle and obscurity to the threshold of a new and unexpected career. At first, Alain Delon was not sure that acting was for him, but his earliest experiences in French cinema would change his life in unexpected ways. Even with some hesitation, he took his first roles and quickly caught the eyes of filmmakers and viewers alike. But the real turning point came with his memorable performance in Purple Noon in 1960. In that film, Delon took on a complex character, showing a talent that combined deep emotion with a striking presence that few could match on screen. His work in Purple Noon not only won him praise in France, it brought him attention around the world, introducing global audiences to a new leading man whose mysterious look and intense gaze became his trademarks. The film's success led to more important offers and established Delon as an international star, forever shaping his career in cinema. Then came Rocco and His Brothers in 1960, where Delon revealed just how wide his range really was. Before then, many people thought of him mainly as a pretty face or as an actor suited only to certain roles. But in this movie, he brought to life a complex character, showing deep emotion and handling tough, dramatic scenes in a way no one expected. This performance marked a turning point, as critics saw that he could move easily from playing sensitive, gentle types to more intense, conflicted characters. The year 1960 stood out as a milestone, raising his reputation in Europe and making his place in film history even more secure. However, even as his fame grew in Europe, crossing over to the United States was not as easy. Big projects from MGM promised new opportunities, but they didn't give Delon roles that took advantage of everything he could do. Instead of spotlighting his versatility, these films kept him inside narrow limits, so American audiences never really saw the full extent of his talent. In Europe he was admired, but across the Atlantic, he struggled to connect, and the chances that looked so promising never materialized into lasting success. After years as a famous actor, Alain Delon's life was transformed in 1968 by the Markovic affair, a notorious event that cast a long shadow on his reputation. During this time, the body of his bodyguard, Stevan Markovic, was found under mysterious circumstances. This shocking situation quickly attracted public attention and led to police investigations, as rumors began swirling about Delon's private life and his possible ties to the criminal underworld. Authorities and the press speculated endlessly, and Delon, who had been known mostly for his on-screen charisma and romantic roles, suddenly found himself at the center of a scandal. As new details emerged, curiosity about Delon's personal relationships and activities grew intense. The Markovic affair not only affected his public image, but also deeply influenced the way people viewed celebrities and their personal connections behind the scenes. Legal questions and rumors continued to follow him, shaping the narrative around his career and introducing a darker shade to his legacy. It became difficult for Delon to escape the persistent questions and insinuations associated with the Markovic affair, and this cloud hung over him for years. During the 1970s, Alain Delon leaned into the growing public curiosity surrounding his off-screen life by starring in gangster films that highlighted his enigmatic and rebellious image. The decade saw him in roles that blended danger and charm, and audiences responded eagerly, turning many of these films into commercial successes. Delon's on-screen criminals sometimes mirrored his own reputation, blurring the line between the character and the man, and making his work irresistible to viewers who thrived on scandal and drama. As his stardom grew, Delon decided to direct his own path, establishing his own production company. This was his attempt to further shape his projects according to his tastes, giving him more say in scripts, casting, and style. However, he often insisted on keeping the spotlight to himself, choosing to act without sharing major scenes or recognition with emerging talents of the era. This desire for total creative control ultimately set him apart from the young directors and actors who were redefining cinema at the time, leaving Delon somewhat distanced from the industry's fresh ideas and movements. Despite the decline in his career during later years, Alain Delon still managed to give performances that drew both critical attention and admiration. One of the most significant moments was his win of the César Award in 1985 for his role in the film Notre Histoire. This award was an important recognition for Delon, coming at a stage when many believed his best work was behind him. The character he played in that film was complex, allowing Delon to showcase a different side of his talent, away from the roles that made him famous in earlier decades. However, while he maintained a presence in the film world, Delon's life outside the screen became notable for its controversy. In 2019, the Cannes Film Festival paid tribute to his career by awarding him an honorary Palme d'Or. This gesture caused strong reactions from some, as several protested the decision, drawing attention to Delon's past comments and behaviors which they considered unacceptable. These protests highlighted how his public image had shifted over time. The combination of acclaim for his artistic achievements and criticisms of his personal conduct made the later years of Delon's life and career a subject of ongoing debate, drawing attention both for his professional legacy and for the controversies that surrounded him. Meanwhile, public debate about Alain Delon often centers on how his personal opinions and actions fit within the context of his generation. Many of his supporters argue that it is necessary to view Delon's statements and decisions against the background of the times he lived in, rather than through the lens of current attitudes. They point out that while Delon was sometimes a figure of controversy, his professional work in film had a significant impact that is still recognized today. Over the years, Delon's career became closely tied to both his image as a celebrity and the discussions that surrounded his choices, blurring the line between his public and private life. The tensions between how he was seen by the public and acclaim for his acting skills added layers to his reputation, making his life a subject of ongoing interest. Despite the arguments that rose up in various circles, many ultimately emphasized his enduring contributions to the world of cinema and culture. His presence on screen, the roles he chose, and the legacy that remains are all part of the continuing conversation about how history views complex figures like him, with each new debate reflecting changing perspectives and memories of the